update on the Atlas QC42 lathe project. As you can see, I've torn it down quite a bit. Got the apron off, had to acquire a special bit to do that. Two large Phillips bolts. This is the head, I just have it balanced there. And here's the inside of the head. Look at that dirt. How does metal shavings get up into the bottom of the head? I have no idea. I would have to say that this is probably all original crud that started in 1950 when this lathe was built. So I just about got it down. My goal is this coming weekend to get all of the paint stripped off of it. It's really not that complicated. You shouldn't be afraid to take one apart. Just take your time and think about each thing you're doing and don't force anything. There is a really important part that I've hidden down in. Where did I hide my part? Maybe I have it on another tool. I'm using this cabinet to keep all my stuffage sorted. Wow, I've already lost a very expensive part. How can that be? Oh well, we'll show that part later. But check it out, we're making some progress. I've got some paint with the first coat of red on parts of the cross slide. The carriage itself you can see over there laying upside down. I don't have an adjustable wrench large enough to remove this the crossfeed screw assembly. So I have to buy one of those. And then I can start stripping that down. I'm worried about getting oven cleaner or paint stripper on these ZMAC gears. And you know, that's a combination of aluminum and tin, I think, or I'm sorry, aluminum and zinc, a kind of pot metal, and I don't want to dissolve them by accident, so I'm going to hold off on that. But anyways, there's an update on the lathe. Here's the quick change gearbox. I have to rebuild this too. There's a great video on YouTube, a fellow rebuilding one of these. I don't own a Bridgeport or a milling machine, so it might be challenging for me to do this completely by myself, but we'll see. I'm currently shopping for a bench milling machine, and if I find one that I can afford, well, we may be working on that. Alright, I'm getting ready to do something interesting here, and I tend to do videos where I show what I'm doing as I'm discovering it. I haven't done this and put it all back together and then take it apart again and, you know, to look like a genius like I knew how to do it just naturally. I've never taken one of these racks off of one of these lathes before. This has certainly never been off of this lathe since it was built in 1950. I took all the fasteners out of it and I noticed that it's not loose. So how do we think about this and use good mechanical principles? First off, this is a gear. I'm pretty sure it's steel. It doesn't show any wear at all. And it could be hardened. So it might be brittle. And if I started prying around on this, I could crack it or something, or bend it. Even if it's not hardened and it's soft metal, I could bend it. It's probably got some dowel pins in it. I can't see any of them. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of softly scrape around on the face and see if I can see some dowel pins. And that'll give me a clue. This is just an old spatula. Maybe that's not a good idea. Let's get some. Here we go. Thought I had all the tools sitting here, but I don't. Well, this is an empty can of cleaner. Well, that's okay. Degreaser, that's empty too. I got another can of engine degreaser. Okay. So I'm gonna wet this down. I got to degrease and clean this nasty thing up anyways. And now I'm gonna clean on the face of this gear. Now the reason why I'm assuming there could be a dowel here is, I don't know, it just seems like you wouldn't want to load the sides of these screws on a machine tool when you're controlling the carriage feed. It just seems like it would not be made that way. I could be wrong. So I'm trying to clean the side of this gear a little bit. And this is a gear, even though it's not round. It's called a rack whenever a gear is, teeth of the gear are laid out straight. Alright. Let me take a flashlight. And this is the gear that drives the carriage back and forth when you turn the handle. So it moves the carriage back and forth in front of the chuck. Now this could be made out of the same material as all the other gears. This could be Z-Mac. You know, I don't see any dowel pins in the surface. It's probably just stuck to the side of this. So how am I going to get it off? Well, I need to get something really thin behind it. Here is a box cutter. It's got a strong but thin blade in it. Could maybe do this with a razor blade as well. But I'm going to see if I can get some purchase on this between the gear and the carriage, or the gear in the back. Maybe somehow I can begin to pry this off very, very gently. Now, if it's just stuck there with 50 years of grease and gook, it'll probably pop off all along its length. Okay, I think I'm inside that tooth, and I'm just going to tippy-tappy on this. Nope, don't seem to be getting anywhere. Wow, it doesn't want to move. I was just sure I was going to pop this off of here while the camera was running. Sure don't want to pry on it with any tools. Oh, look. There's a spot where there might be a gap. The blade's being held up at a slight angle. Yeah, look at that. Okay. Now, why there could be a dowel pin down here and down here, I don't know. So, I'm not going to flex it any more than that. I'm going to get something to get a hold of that and pull it out of there. Just want to be gentle and careful. I don't have to break any parts here. There we go. I'm going to move down here a little ways. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. I'm able to this part seems to, I see movement all the way down, just about all the way down here. I hate to think of what this gear cost. It's probably not a $25 part. I want to be careful here. Now I notice there's not a tendency for this to pop loose at either end. So that's a sign there could possibly be dowel pins here at either end of this. I'm going to look inside the ways here, see if I see any holes. I don't see any. Oh, what do we got here? Nope, it's just a. Oh no, I do see a hole. Right about here, there's. Oh wait a minute, that's probably a fastener hole. Let's see. Here's a hole. Look at that. Look at that. See if I can stick. I'm going to lose a fastener. Here we go. Looks like, yes. Okay, so I see the threaded hole on the inside of the casting behind this, and then I see another hole about right here. And ooh, I missed it when I cleaned the gear. There is a dowel pin there. So I can't lift this gear off this way. That means I have to push it off that way. So now that I've got it loose from all the gook, maybe I'll be able to get this blade in behind the gear here. Go way down here. Flex it out a little bit. There we go. Maybe that'll make enough room. There we go, got the blade behind it. Now if I can slide the blade down here, that'll apply pressure outward on the gear, possibly slide it off of this dowel pin. This lady's foot's got a flat side. Scratch around on this pin. It's just a small dowel pin, I believe. Make sure there's not a slot in it. No, it's just a dowel pin. Well, that sure doesn't want to slide down there. I'm going to go work on the other end. Razor blade in there easily. Not driving against the gear, just driving against the notches in the utility blade. Wow, that sure is tight. You know, there's another option here, and that is I could drive the dowel pin through into the casting. It could be, since the hole's drilled through, I should be able to push it all the way through. It could be that the dowel pin has some corrosion holding it here in the gear. And the lesson here is, always look for alternatives before you begin to force something. I'm going to go ahead and take my wedges out of there. There we go. No sense in forcing anything and feeling sorry after I break it. Okay, let me find a drift. I actually don't own any drifts. A drift would be a pin punch where instead of the punch being tapered, let's set this camera. Instead of the punch being tapered, it's a straight shaft. Okay, so right there's our dowel. Now I'm going to use the plastic hammer. No point in shocking this casting if I don't have to. I can feel the top of the pin. It's like it's got a round surface on it. Not moving. Ah, this could be the head. I notice it's got a dome to it. This could be the head of a rivet that's driven in. And this may not be here to take loads, but it may just be here as an assembly aid to hold it in place when it was built. Alright, well, it doesn't look like I'm going to figure it out, so I'm going to stop now, go do a little Googling, see if I can come up with an answer before I get impatient and break something.